All right, everybody. Welcome back to Recruiters in the Microphone. Pete Cochran, Israel Swanson. You know the crew already at this point. I don't even really need to do no introduction needed. But there is one that's actually a new one for this particular episode. We've got our good friend Josh from MyStandard. So thank you very much for joining us this morning, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. Excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've listened to a few of our episodes before, Josh. Typically, we go through a little bit more of your story, what your background was, and then a little bit into, what you're doing now. So, I mean, I know, you and I've known each other for a little bit, and I obviously met you through Adam Lowe, which all three of us know really well, and as does pretty much everyone on the planet in some degree or fashion.
He does.
knows Adam Lowe.
Absolute.
Yeah,
an absolute treasure. Adam Lowe is a treasure.
Yes, he is
indeed.
And he's one or two degrees separated from literally everyone. So it's kind of funny. So
I like to refer to Adam as the Kevin Bacon of Jacksonville. He's absolutely 3 degrees from someone that you know or that they know. Yeah. So it's
to that point, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with him where I said, "Do you know X?" and he said, "No, I never heard of him."
No, it's impossible. Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little funny story about Adam before we kind of digress into your background, Josh. So
let's just roast Adam for an hour.
Let's do it. Yeah. I'm game. Because he's going to be listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But no, so going back to the fact that he knows everybody and agreed to Kevin Bacon of Jacksonville, years and years and years ago, I had actually had him and his wife over for dinner. And we're sitting here at my house and we're having dinner. And he was talking to my wife. And he basically said, "Where did you grow up?" And she was like, "Oh, I grew up in the Fort Caroline area," which if you're from Jacksonville, you know that area. And then she in a neighborhood called Hollyoaks. And he was like, "Oh yeah, so there's like one of those community pools, in Hollyoaks. Like the old 80s and 90s had those community pools. It's still actually there." And she was like, "Yeah, how did you know about that?" He was like, "Oh, I was the lifeguard. I remember your family." So that's how crazy it is that he even knows my wife. So it's like, okay, I actually thought he was lying, but it turns out he wasn't. So
there you go.
Adam knows everybody.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm super glad that he connected me with you, Josh, and you're part of the program today. So anyway, prior to that, right? Give us the history. Where did you? I know in the Northeast. Like, where did you get your start?
I'm from. I live in Maplewood, New Jersey, which is a suburb about 15 miles outside of the city. I've been a recruiter probably 20 plus years in one form or another. I started out right after I got out of college, and I worked for a company called Apple One. Probably heard of them. They're a very large West Coast based recruiting, staffing firm. We were in Phoenix, Arizona, because I went to the University of Arizona and I lived in Phoenix, and we when we had a tiny little room with a bunch of guys hitting the phones, going to work, right? We had all kinds of great clients. Phoenix was a really hot technology hub, so we went into the technology area. I was 23 years old. I was making an insane amount of money and just living the dream. But, I was really in a position where
the old golden handcuffs, as we used to call them.
Right. But I made certain life choices because I'm from New York. I'm a New Yorker. I'm an East Coast guy. Phoenix didn't really grab me as much as I wanted it to. So I moved back to New York, and I actually went on to the other side, and I worked for 5 years with Capgemini Ernst & Young, and I was the recruiting director there. Recruiting predominantly financial services people, accounting people, Big Four type stuff. Did that for 5 years, and then went out on my own, started my own agency because the market was good, and I wanted to spread my wings, and felt like I was more of an agency, search kind of guy. So I, every year I did my own thing. Some years it was contingent search, some years it was retained search, some years it was consulting, and I cobbled it together like every good sort of independent recruiter does.
Right.
So, some years I would go on and then I kind of switched around. Some years I'd go on in the inside and build like talent acquisition functions. As my career progressed and I got older and wiser, and I moved into more of a leadership type of position, I found myself drifting in more of a very cutting edge technology direction, which led me to blockchain. So I became the head of recruiting talent acquisition for a blockchain company called Voice, which existed in the original crypto bull market in 2020 and 2021. I was employee number 5. I built the entire TA function from scratch. Went from my number 5, and then when we were done in about 10 months, we had hired 150 people across the spectrum: engineering, operations, legal, finance. So, I really
Josh, you're kind of freezing up.
Oh, am I? You got me back?
Yeah. Yep, I got you back.
Yep.
Sorry. So, and then, as I really liked sort of being in a leadership role. I was presented. I'm a big crypto guy. I very much think that blockchain and Web3 is the future of the economy in a lot of ways. So I connected with my partner through a mutual connection, and we kind of doxed each other and chatted and connected with all the people we knew in common, and came up with an idea. We were like, we think the current state of talent acquisition is broken. It's not working the way it's supposed to be working. There's a lot of problems. As a recruiter for as long as I was, I'm always looking for new tools and new opportunities to kind of maximize potential. And we realized the future, we could create a tool. If we could create a tool that recruiters like, candidates like, and that gives us the ability to let people own their data, which they don't have right now, we could really be onto something. So this is the beginning of 2021, so about 3.5 years ago. And we went to work. And we've built a product, which we'll get into next, called MyStandard, which we think has the opportunity and the potential to revolutionize everything about talent acquisition. We think we can flip the script. We think that people, once they understand what they have and how valuable their data is, they're going to come to us when they realize that not only can they monetize that data, but they have control over who sees their stuff and what goes on with it. And we think that's kind of a unique offering.
Well, most definitely. It definitely is. So when you first started to get into the idea, I guess first off for me is like, what were the first challenges that you saw? What were some of the things you had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, what keeps me up at night in general is the concept of adoption. People have been giving away their data to LinkedIn, to Twitter, to Facebook for 25 years. They don't understand that these companies are basically just abusing their information. They're repackaging their information and reselling it, and you are the product. You get nothing, right? The classic.
Because it's free to me, so then therefore I'm the product, right? The old saying is like, if it's free, you're the product.
That's the classic statement. If you're not paying for it, then you are the product, right? And
correct. All
these companies have done a very good job of making it seem like they're doing something for you, when in essence you're doing all the work and they're making all the money. So the biggest hurdle that we see right now, and then we can get into how the product works and the value proposition that it is. Biggest hurdle we see is, will people start to understand that their data has value? Will they take ownership of that data? And will they realize that they've been giving it away for free? It's time to make some money on who they are, on their identity. Will they embrace that idea?
So define data for me, Josh. Like, is it every piece of data, or like, because when I'm thinking about talent acquisition standpoint, right? Okay,
100%. In this particular iteration, what we are doing is it's your professional data. So I look at LinkedIn as sort of the Tinderization of hiring, right? Companies go on there, they're just flipping left, flipping right, trying to get through as many profiles as possible, right? They're not really connecting with anyone. They're just flipping.
That's a good one. I'll remember that one.
Tinderization.
It is. Yeah. It's exactly what it is. And listen, we all have implicit and explicit biases in hiring. We're all recruiters. We all understand how this works. You look at someone's picture, like, they're not going to work here. They're this. You look at their name. Oh, that person will never work here. I didn't like where they went to school. Oh, they used to work there. That place sucks. So they're basically out of hand, disqualifying people for the most irrelevant reasons that have nothing to do with the job, right? And and also on top of that, the way LinkedIn is set up now with applying for jobs, when you have premium, you can see how many people have applied for a job. When you see someone that a job and there's 5,000 applications for that job, you're not getting that job. Okay,
no
one's going to see your resume.
Not even close. Yeah, it's
I would even go as far to say, Josh, is out of all those 5,000, none of those 5,000 are getting the job. It's one of those. It's one of the no. That is old school, old money. I know a guy that can do this job, and so everything that TA did, even when posting that job, was just for
data mining,
the sake of doing it. It's like
checking a box.
Absolute BS.
Go ahead.
Oh, but I wanted you to finish your answer to Pete, but I also want to know when you saw, because I think anybody in TA and recruiting as old as the three of us that have seen a lot of shit. When did you see?
Between all three of us, we've been doing this for 60 years. I just want to say that.
Right,
that's insane.
So, the turning of the tide in regards to when traditional recruiting slowly started to go the way of the buffalo. It's like we have individuals, and I still know them, that are still somehow dead focused, and they think they're still convinced, and Pete already knows who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
That traditional recruiting is still the way to make money. And it's there, and it's like no. Just no. So two questions real quick, I guess.
Yeah.
When did you start seeing it failing?
Yeah.
And then the variables that were failing, when did you start slowly, and obviously this has evolved as technology has increased, including, your product and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even including, your data mining and crypto, it's like that wasn't here.
100%.
Or if it was, I mean, you can go way back, but people, then that goes to, the whole adoption thing. But so kind of the first question, I guess, is when did you see, and what was your telltale sign of the industry going, we're glacier and we're heading right to it. We're going to sink.
Yeah. I think the tip for me, probably right around COVID-ish time, so like the last 5 years, when LinkedIn became a social media site and not a recruiting site, things changed dramatically. When you started seeing people posting their political views on LinkedIn, and talking about that, that's
animals and sharing stuff as if we're all just office friends.
Correct.
Those were the posts, and you're spot on. It's like, I am not. We're not office buddies. You're not in the next cubicle. This is you're using this platform for something that it's not supposed to be used for.
Right. And so that's the jump the shark moment. And on top of that, why would you ever do that? Like that has always been the thing to me. Like, I don't want anybody knowing any of my business. I'm not going to blast my political opinions out on LinkedIn because it can't help me. Because you know what? Then the point I'm making, I guess, is then recruiters can look over your LinkedIn history and make a determination. Oh my God, this guy's this, and we don't want to hire someone like that. So you're cutting yourself out of opportunity. So as soon as LinkedIn started to allow people to really express themselves, instead of using the site for what it was intended, which is initially, as we all know, a networking site for business. That's what LinkedIn is supposed to do. Yeah. That's how you use LinkedIn.
It was Facebook for social, this for business. Right. So
the argument was Facebook is the bar, LinkedIn is the office, Twitter's the bar, Facebook is your house, and LinkedIn is the office, right? So like, when you go into work, are you like and again, this is not me, yes or no, but like, when you went into work, are you wearing a MAGA hat? No. Why not? Because it's not relevant to the job, and all you're doing is putting a huge target on yourself. So, as soon as LinkedIn decided that it's a social media site and that really all they care about is getting people's subscriptions to renew every year, when they no longer cared about you actually making a connection or making hires, and all they're excited about is that next year they're going to raise your fee by 8% and 8% and 8% for eternity. That's when it all fell apart. And as the way I look at it is it times out from our perspective, like, okay, there has to be a better way to do this. There has to be a solution. LinkedIn has 1 billion users, right? They're not going anywhere. They're not innovating. Nope. They're doing this new stuff with AI now where they help you make your resume better. They don't care. They're good. As soon as Microsoft purchased them, that's a wrap. They're done.
Well, so this is something that it doesn't take an Elon Musk to figure out in regards to his brain. But so to your point in regards to how many users LinkedIn has and what they charge, they've never given away anything ever.
Nothing.
In my entire life of LinkedIn. However, my last little stint at an agency, and it was short lived because of a lot of the stuff we're talking about, traditional versus thinking of new ways. Yeah. But all of a sudden, LinkedIn was giving us an absurd amount of job postings for free. And corporate was telling everybody, hey, you need to post 30 jobs today. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And they're all just BS jobs because it's like, oh, and LinkedIn told us if you post all these jobs, then they're going to give us something else. They didn't define what it was that LinkedIn was going to give us. But so now if you start doing that math of this agency, or let's just say the office that I was in, if everybody was committed to at least 30 postings, and you're in an office of 15 to 20, and this is including sales and biz dev, everybody's posting. Yeah. And it's like, you do, and I raised my hand and I lifted my voice, and I was like, you do realize that they're just gathering all this data from everybody that's applying to a job that doesn't exist. Yeah. You do realize they're coming after this industry where they're going to, and they're like, no, we need to do this. So how many jobs have you posted? I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then it's going back to what we said earlier, right? You get something for free. You're the product. Yeah. So you got to understand what the product is. Like what, to your point, Israel, what is it that if you're giving, name me a free job board. Is there a free job board? I don't know of a free job board. Like I don't.
No, of course not. No, of course not.
Right. That's worth anything?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's not that actually has
Craigslist, because so many people still use Craigslist, right?
Yeah. But that's exactly the premise here, is that it became it became more about where's the value proposition became about the data and nothing else, right? And LinkedIn has all these other features now for candidates, premium, right, where you pay $30 a month or whatever it is. The reason, Israel, to your point, that they wanted you to put all those jobs up is because then it looks like the market is more active. So then they can start to sell the premium services to candidates as well. And now they have this thing that you may have heard about where you have to actually go in and toggle off because it's toggled on. They can use your data for their AI projects. You have to go into your settings and you have to find that feature, and you have to they opt out of it because they're taking all your data and using it for AI projects for their clients. They figured out 1 million ways to monetize you, right? And you get nothing. The example we always use, to your point also earlier, is they sign you up for a year-long contract. If your company has a hiring freeze, right, and you're not hiring anybody, can you call LinkedIn and be like, you know what, we're not hiring anybody for the next 3 months. Can we get a quarter of our contract frozen or back? Exactly. They do just that. They'd laugh and
I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to put you on hold real quick. LinkedIn? LinkedIn?
Yeah. No chance. They are never in 1 million years going to do anything to benefit you. They're just going to, again, keep rolling you and rolling you and rolling you. And because there's nothing else out there that's equivalent, that everyone has to use the tool, they got the market cornered. They have 80% of the market share. I think Indeed has another 10, and some of the other smaller things make up the other 10%, but they control the market.
Wow.
So to talk about our product a little bit, so what we do, where we differentiate ourselves and why it's taken us 3 years to build. With our product, you download the app, it goes on your phone. It is you're basically creating a crypto wallet. It's the apps are both in both app stores, the Android and iPhone. You download the app, you put all your professional data in there. Your certifications, your degree, your resume, everything goes in there. It stays behind a wall, it's encrypted. This is your server. It's decentralized. That's the whole beauty of blockchain. So there's not, LinkedIn gets hacked 7 times a year, all that data gets washed. With us, you can't do that. So it sits there. IBM, who's on our board of directors, IBM has a need. They need a software engineer, 150K in New York, willing to travel. Great. You happen to be one of those people. You'll get a notification on your phone. It says, IBM would like to talk to you about this opportunity. You see the job description. Most passive, we as recruiters, we love passive searchers, right? That's where the bread and butter is.
Of course. Passive candidates are key. That's gold.
That's everything. So the reality is that 80% of people, even if you're happy in your job, are open to other opportunities for whatever reason. You got passed over, you didn't get a promotion, whatever. So you get the notification on your phone. You're like, oh, IBM.
Yeah,
you had a bad day. Our situations are always evolving. So you get the notification. You're like, oh, I'll talk to IBM. Doesn't cost me anything, right? Great. You swipe right. IBM then gets your data. IBM then pays you, the user, for access to that data. So instead of paying the third party who's abusing it, you actually pay the owner of the data. And because we're a cryptocurrency, we can do that. So we send you tokens. The value of the tokens depending on your level of experience and who you are and what they've requested. But now everybody has something at stake. What else goes on there? IBM sees nothing about the candidate until after they pay for it. They only know that these 50 people that they've reached out minimally are qualified for the job. So you're taking the bias out of the hiring. We all want to hire DEI. We all want to have a more diverse workforce, but DEI has become more of a theory or an idea as opposed to an actual value proposition. Because if you're just trying to hire for a minority, you're not really finding the best candidate. You're just meeting a quota. With our structure, since it's a blind situation, they know nothing about you until they've paid you for that data. And we all know when you pay for something, you treat it differently, even if it's a small amount, right?
Very true.
So in this transaction, IBM gets a qualified candidate who probably has some diversity to them that they would have probably, like I said, the Tinderization, they would have probably passed over when they were seeing their picture on LinkedIn. Candidate gets paid for something they've never been paid for before. And what you're forming is a relationship directly between candidate and client. We all know as recruiters, we all know as recruiters, it's not about the job that you're applying for today. As a recruiter, you're trying to build a database of good qualified candidates for the job in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months. If you paid for this person and you have an interview with them and they're not right for this job, they're always going to remember that the candidate's always going to remember who paid them. So if you reach out to them in 6 months, they're like, hey, remember we interviewed? Oh yeah, how are you? You've now formed a serious relationship. It's not just erase the email. Here's the in-mail. I'm not going to respond. I don't care. Everybody's got something at stake. What else do? We ask candidates to verify certain data, right? On LinkedIn, they say 16% of the profiles on LinkedIn are fake anyway or AI generated. And you never know with a person's data until after the interview's over and they're doing the background check, right? Cancer Treatment Centers of America is one of our investors. 60% of the candidates that they interview for nursing jobs fall off after the interview process and failed background check. Why? Their license is out of date. It's out of state. It's in the wrong discipline. They didn't know this until after all the man hours were spent interviewing the candidate.
Yeah, I was about to say all the hours that you've actually invested to get to that point to only find out that they don't have. It's so true.
So with what we're doing a couple things. Number one, we're asking candidates when they download the app to verify their work email address. So if you say you work at Netflix, you have to prove that you work at Netflix. So instantaneously, we're doing more than LinkedIn because now we have a verified work email address. Two, through a thing called zero knowledge proofs, what we can do is we can actually reach out to the schools and the universities and wherever they went to school and ask them and get the candidate to ask those people at the university for a proof that they went there. for a minted profile of a minted picture, if you will, of their degree. So when you mint that to your profile, it's perpetually and always in your profile. At the very beginning of the process, IBM could say, I only want to talk to people who have degrees that they can prove they have a degree. So imagine if you're the client and you're the company, and at the very beginning of the process, you've got a verified work email address and proof that this person has a degree from where they say, before the interview even starts. Background checks is a $3 billion a year industry that we can completely obliterate. Because what is the background check person? It's some 23-year-old kid who's sitting on a phone or on an email, sending an email to the school. Did he go here? Yes. And it's expensive, and it's time consuming, and it's a waste. And it, again, a
couple of years ago, I actually had to do my own background check to get a job because the company, I'm not going to name them, didn't actually do it because, to your point, it was a 23-year-old person that called into the college. They didn't do any of their due diligence other than say, oh, that's not what Pete did. And it's like, no, I did do it. That's exactly. Yeah. It's like I had to do my own background check. What are you paying for?
You're paying for it, right? And it's completely antiquated, and it's so inefficient. And we live in such a fast-paced world. Why would you not have all of that stuff taken care of at the very beginning? The blockchain enables that. It also gives, because the owner of the data can always say no to the transaction, and it's not like IBM's going to know who this person is if they say no, right? So there's no like stigma. If you don't want to work at IBM, all that IBM's going to know is that they sent out 50 requests and 35 people said yes. So they don't know who the other 15 are.
So candidate X said no, candidate Y said yes, and that's it. That's all I know.
Right. They only they only have to deal with it becomes a reasonable number, right? So instead of 5,000 resumes, like how many posts do you see on LinkedIn where some obnoxious recruiter at some company is like all high and mighty on their high horse and is like, I had to go through 500 resumes yesterday. Here's my takeaways. Oh, blah blah blah. Right? Like no one likes that. That's not cool. With our structure, if you have 50 qualified resumes, instead of having to go through 500 to get to those 50, I just saved you hours and hours and hours of time, right? Because you now have a manageable number. And the theory is that we were saying before, in that 50 is probably somebody who's good, right? So if you get a 5% success rate on 50, that's 3 or 4 people, right? That's pretty good. And you've now got something that you're, as recruiters, we know hiring managers is all about time to hire. They want to put a body in the seat. They were in a rush. Right. You're losing money by not having this person there. All of these things are solved right away. With our tokens, the token itself gets sent to, from us to the candidate. They never expire. Okay. So it's no contract. It's not like you only pay for what you get. So if you have, like I said, that example earlier, if you have 35 yeses on 50 that you sent out, you still have those extra 15 tokens because they didn't say yes. So they stay in your token bank and they never expire. So you're constantly only getting, it's an a la carte situation. You're paying for what you get and you're getting some value for that payment. So it's such a simple system. It takes away the whole concept of even applying for a job anymore because you really shouldn't have to. The job finds you and you only get notifications when you're right for a job, right? So like recruiters as a profession, our job a little bit to be annoying and to reach out to people. That's what we do, right? So you don't want to bother somebody who has no interest in talking to you. Now you don't have to do that. You only get notified if you're a right fit, and then you decide what you want to do. It completely flips the script.
Get paid to actually release it.
It gets and also the bias situation. So you're more eligible for jobs that you probably wouldn't have been eligible for, and companies win because they have a more diverse workforce. We even think we could get to the point where companies say, because we're known as the non-biased recruiting site, we use MyStandard. So from a PR and a marketing perspective, it looks really good. It's like we use MyStandard, so we have very low bias hiring, right? We have a much more diverse workforce because we use MyStandard, so we take the bias out of hiring. Who doesn't want that? Like, there's so many variables that make us a more viable choice than a LinkedIn. We feel like we can pull 3 to 5% of LinkedIn spend. If you spend $100,000 a year on LinkedIn and you give us 5,000 of that, we think we're going to have a better outcome. You're going to get better qualified candidates and you're going to spend a lot less money. And your time, which is the most valuable piece here, is given back to you because it's all simplified for you. And all you have to do is look at the candidates that you've reached out to that have said yes.
Yeah. You're disrupting a lot of pieces of this puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it also, and Pete and I talk about this all the time in regards to companies and their, whether it's TA spend, marketing spend, whatever it is, when they're trying to, and then they hear a number from a product like your own. And they're like, whoa. And then it's like, what do you mean, whoa? If this product, if going off your numbers, so yeah, you gave $100,000 to LinkedIn, you're giving us $5,000. What is $5,000 for one placement? Just one. That, like, are you kidding me? So when you start looking at the return on investment, then that budgeted spend, it's like, what are y'all talking about? What is your current return on LinkedIn right now? If the company's spending a premium license on LinkedIn and they're also using agencies, now we're talking in the 500 to $1 million a year in out of pocket just in staffing. So it's pretty ridiculous.
It's insane. And yeah, we've all been there and we've all been on the agency side, right? You know, it's great when you're a contingency search recruiter and they're like, oh yeah, fine, 20%, sure, sounds great, until they get the bill, right? Until they get that invoice.
Right.
And they're like, we spent how much for one guy? $150K? That's a $30,000.
Yeah.
I'll take, I mean, as a recruiter, I'm like,
or when, but
great.
then also when they really get, their panties in a bunch, if you will, is when they're looking for the C-suite, and then you find a CISO or something like that whose base is 300, and we're not even talking about 20, we're talking about 30, 35.
Exactly.
Because of the individual and the search that we had to do, because this CISO is not on the boards anywhere and nobody knows that he's looking because of the situation that it could bring if anybody knew that he was even thinking about looking for a job.
100%. So to that point, we think we're agnostic in terms of the ability to work at all different levels. We can work at the fast food level, which we think is a really interesting market because you don't find those people on LinkedIn, right? Those people need jobs.
Right.
If you think about hiring at Burger King, how do you think of it? They see the sign that says we're hiring, and you walk in, you fill out an application, right?
And they need them tomorrow, or tonight, or whatever. They need them immediately. Right.
And there's a lot of turnover in the space, but there's no real accurate way to find these people. But you know what? Everybody has a phone, no matter how much money you make. And if you're a ship supervisor at Burger King, right, and the guy from McDonald's, he's a ship supervisor, nothing better than to be able to reach out to you and phone and pay the guy $1 or $2 for a resume. So that it works at that level.
Right.
But to your point earlier, at the highest levels, at the C level, there's no reason why company X couldn't offer $1,000 to access someone's data, right? To get that CISO. Now think about it. If you're the CISO, wow, I just got a notification on my phone. Company X is looking for CISO. They're willing to give me $1,000 to talk to me. Are you going to take that seriously? Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All day long. And you're forming a relationship with the guy. And it's a great investment for the company because instead of spending, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 to access the guy, you spent $1,000. You got a relationship with the person, and you look like a rock star. You're like, wow, these people are serious. If you're willing to spend $1,000 to get to me, you're not playing around. This isn't some job posting on LinkedIn. This isn't some cold reach out. This guy's willing to give me $1,000 just to talk to me. That's
right. Or actually just to even see my data, just to see
that's
it.
Right.
It's $1,000.
I'm important enough to going to give $1,000 makes it make sense. So if you reach out and you got 5 people and that cost you $5,000, but you made relationships with 5 CISOs, what's the value proposition there? It's insane. Everybody wins in that transaction.
Yeah.
So that's why I say we can flip the script on the entire industry by making it more on the onus is on the companies to find you instead of you just swimming in a sea of garbage to get nowhere. The thing that, like I said earlier, that keeps me up at night is, will people get that? Right? How long is it going to take for them to understand this process the way I just described it should be the way it is, Right. But once they do the math. No one's ever, if you get paid for your data one time, you're never deleting this app. Ever, 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 ever. Because you always know it's Pavlovian. If you get a notification, that notification ring from MyStandard, that means you're going to make money. Right? There's something in it for you. It's not a social media site.
No.
There's no ads running. It's not running in the background. You don't have to participate in anything. The more you participate, because it's a crypto, we can offer rewards, and we can, for active users, we can make it worth your while and monetize it. But most people are not going to do that. Most people are just going to let it sit and not think about it again until they get a notification. And they're like, wow,
or until they need a job. Right.
Or even if they don't need a job, even if they're just sitting there and they're, minding their own business, playing Candy Crush, they might get an opportunity that they couldn't possibly turn down because, wow, I never thought about IBM. I've always considered working there. I didn't even know they were hiring. Like those types of responses that we as recruiters love, because that's what's the best find when we reach out to somebody cold and they're like, you know what? And we've all been there. Oh, you know what? I'm not even looking right now. I love you. You're not looking. That's exactly who I want to talk to. Because now you're going to look at the job I'm presenting to you with a completely objective look. If it's not right for you, you say no. But what if it is? What if they show you something you didn't expect? And everyone responds to that. Everyone's like, yeah, that's true. It doesn't cost me. It didn't cost me half an hour on a Zoom call. Great. How many placements have we made like that? Thousands, right? So that's the market we're playing to, is people who are literally just living their lives and not having to overexpose themselves to the nonsense that is LinkedIn and desperation that is LinkedIn. Now the whole market comes to them and they get paid for it.
Yeah. It definitely inspired me a lot with this conversation, Josh, but also we've done a really good job of bashing LinkedIn for the past 30 minutes, and we're posting this on LinkedIn. So just want to make sure. Yeah.
I already thought about that, Pete. Like, we can at least use them as a hashtag in our YouTube. Hashtag LinkedIn. So.
Right. I do, and Pete, you're going to be a guest on my Lunch and Learn tomorrow. I do a Lunch and Learn every Thursday. I stream it. My Lunch and Learn streams on LinkedIn through StreamYard every Thursday. So literally, I spend the time bashing LinkedIn, streaming it on their platform. I'm like, honestly,
you're breaking up,
to be
Josh.
fair and just a little look behind the curtain, I'm trying to poke the bear a little. Huh? You're
poking.
Can you hear me,
Josh? You're poking it. You're without it.
Oh yeah,
now we can.
Oh yeah,
now I got you back.
I'm purposely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Josh.
Okay. I'm purposely going after them because I want them to see us. I want them to know that we're coming, because I think that honestly, their inability or lack of concern to innovate is going to end up costing them a lot in the long run. And I think LinkedIn is a potentially great partner for us in terms of people are going to cross-reference when you send someone send a resume. They're going to go right to the person's LinkedIn profile and see if it matches up. So we can work with LinkedIn. They don't have to be a competitor of ours. But again, if we start to peel away just a small percentage of their fees, forget it. Like, then we become a real potential ally with them. And the only way you're going to get their attention is by jabbing at them a little bit and saying, we're coming for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that, Josh, just for our audience, where can people find you? Where can people sign up for the app? I know you said Android, iPhone, but then also the website. Yeah, share with our audience where they can get to you.
Yeah, thank you. The website is MyStandard.io, and the apps are just go on to your app store and MyStandard. You'll see this is the logo. So you'll see our logo. It's really pretty easy to follow. It's a very simple download. Filling out an entire profile literally takes 5 minutes. And then once it's done, you don't have to touch it ever again. It sits there and we'll notify you. We're doing a token launch very soon, so there'll be rewards. You'll have an opportunity to start to monetize yourself. we'll give you as the app gets better. There's going to be lots of different plug and play features where you can add more information to your profile, more data about yourself, more opportunities to monetize. So, we're hoping that as it moves along, the users start to sense the value and continue to add and make their profile more vibrant.
Awesome.
And we'll also include a link in the show notes to your website as well.
Great.
Yeah. Before I know we're running on time. Before we go, Israel, you have any other last minute questions or? We covered a lot today. We did. The industry,
we did.
Yeah.
So you being from the Northeast, how did you meet Adam Lowe? Let's circle back to Adam Lowe. So how did you become part of the Bacon?
We open with Adam and we close with Adam. I like it.
Yeah. So there's an even bigger. I know you guys aren't going to think this possible, but there's an even bigger connector than Adam Lowe, and his name is Timo Weiland, and he's a new Pete. I'm sure do you know Timo?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
I know
Timo is the Northeast.
Or know of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the New York version of Adam Lowe. He knows everybody.
Okay.
And I've known Timo for like 10, 15 years. Timo introduced me to Adam. So if you can think of that, the possibility that there's somebody even more connected than Adam, it would be Timo.
Gotcha.
I would concur. I like that the analogy of he's the New York City Adam, because I could see
Absolutely.
that. Right. So, and
If
just
Adam
so you know too, Israel, Timo actually, Timo's from here. He's from Jacksonville. He went to Episcopal.
Correct.
Okay.
If Adam is
that's a very, very good analogy. Very good work on that one.
Yeah, if Adam is the godfather of Jacksonville, Timo is the godfather of New York. There's literally not a single person, and I'm not talking just about like people that you would know. I'm talking about famous people that like I could throw out a name and Timo, I'll be like, do you know X? And I'm yet to find the person that he was like, nah, I never heard of them. I don't know them. He can get to anybody. So I needed to meet somebody like Adam, like an operational person. Timo was like, I got a guy, Adam.
So it's interesting you say that too, because Timo had actually really helped you raise a lot of your round. Is that correct?
So our investors, we've raised $2.1 million so far. And some of the capital behind us is Winklevoss Capital, which is Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, the Facebook guys, the twins. Timo knows
Never heard of them.
So he never heard of them. So Timo introduced us to the Winklevosses. He introduced us to another one of our investors, a VC called Gangels, which is the Gay Angels. And the reason they invested in us is because of the things I was talking about related to bias. They're all about equality and the equity for everyone. They love the fact that we create unbiased hires. Timo introduced us to them. He is, again, the super connector, and he's part of the team. He's on he's a founding, almost a founding member of the company in a lot of ways. He's one of our employees basically. And so, yeah, I mean, we were able to find 3 or 4 really good venture capital firms to see the vision here and to put some money into us. So that's kind of propelled us and given us the launch pad, if you will, to get to where we are right now. We're at release of the product. We're at token launch. And in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to hear a lot about us because we're going to blast everything everywhere. People are going to start talking about MyStandard, and it's going to be something that, becomes a part of the conversation, especially as it relates to TI.
Well, that's
very
incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And we're honored that you're a part of our program. So we hopefully will be one of the early adopters, right? And get this out there for you.
Download the app.
I've already downloaded the app. I just haven't finished my profile, but I'll do it.
Finish the profile. No, I know we're working on that too. This is version 1.0. It's a little clunky, just being honest, but we're constantly updating, and we're getting to a point where our developers, Wolfpack, are
Adrian. Yeah, you're using our good friend Adrian, and so we actually want to have Adrian on this as well one of these days. So
I had him on a lunch and learn, one of my early lunch and learns. So yeah, he's great. Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Yeah. So they're making a really good product for us. They've simplified it. When you download the app, it acts just like any other Web 2 app. There's no complicated crypto to it. It doesn't feel like you've done anything. Even though you've created a crypto wallet with the app, when you download it, it doesn't feel like it. We've simplified it and made it really easy to use.
That's great. Well, for all of our audience, go check it out. We'll include the link in there in our notes when we release the episode. And yeah, man, thanks again, Josh, for being a part of the program. Always great to see
Awesome,
you.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about all the sneakers behind you, but that's maybe another conversation about your sneaker game.
We can talk about it tomorrow on my
other episode.
That's right.
Gotcha.
All right, guys.
We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.